Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Deal with D and J. I'm your co-host, Jacob Pearl. Alongside me is the wonderful, delightful, magnificent, amazing DJ McCatherine. DJ, how we doing in the year 2026?
Yes, Happy New Year, everybody, to all those who listen. I think given that a new series has just finished, do I go by Delightful DJ now? Do I
I don't know.
just do I just make it work? Do I just make it work? This is Delightful DJ. I mean, you already say it in the commentary.
I mean, yeah, I was
The
just
dipshit DJ.
inspired. I was just inspired. I was inspired by Stranger Things. Did you watch that? Did you finish that?
Yes, I'm actually eyes deep in this whole theory that another episode is coming
No
out, which would be
conformity.
tomorrow, aka January 7th. And so my I'm on edge. I'm hoping it's true. I hope they fooled everybody. Um, I'm one of those people who was very disappointed in the last episode.
No.
Well, I think I would have enjoyed the second half, and I would have loved all the bow tying that they did if I enjoyed the first half. And I didn't enjoy the first half, which raised too many seconds for the second half, and it was just an hour and 10 minutes of everybody saying
What?
goodbye. The
Okay,
last
so
epilogue was great,
I've been
but
having this. I've been having this conversation with people who have seen the finale. So first and foremost, spoilers.
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Come back later when you start hearing us talk about sports. I've been talking about this with people. What about the finale did you not like? You said the first half. What about the first half did you not like? I had my own problems with the show, but by no means though did it ruin my viewing experience. I've seen a lot of people on TikTok take it to like the extreme where they're like the writing was lazy, the writing was bad. And personally, I don't think the Duffers had an ending. I think that was probably the hardest thing for them is to figure out how do they get to this ending.
Right,
How do they defeat Vecna and then you get the bow tie, right?
right.
I think that was the hardest thing that they could do because think about it, the first 4 episodes were nuts. Amazing. Stranger Things that we knew. Then you had volume 2, and the problem is when you kick off volume 1 with ending the volume 1 with Will getting powers, it makes volume 2 like has all this juice. And unfortunately, it didn't really deliver on 7 even though episodes 5 and 6 were really good.
Right.
Will had that cold moment where he just like infiltrated Vecna's mind and it just snapped his ankle.
I get goosebumps like I've seen that video probably 500 times of telling him Max and Holly to run, and I get goosebumps every single time. I just watched it again today. Goosebumps every time.
Goosebumps. And then obviously, we get to the ending and a lot of people argue that well, the boss fight should have been longer. Guys, the fight started when L entered the mind. They were fighting for like 20 minutes. Like, how much longer of a fight do you want it to be? Well, enough Stranger Things talk. Let's dive right into the college football playoffs here. Right? We got Indiana and Oregon in a rematch at the Peach Bowl, and then we get the Fiesta Bowl of Miami and Ole Miss. Right, DJ. Unfortunately, I don't want to spend a lot of time breaking down what happened in the quarterfinals. Other than talk to me about Ohio State real quick before we touch on these 4 teams here.
Well, I mean, I think we can really touch. I mean, like quickly, we can talk about all four of these games because it seems like everything that was just a collapse of major teams here. All more of the major teams at play, like starting with Ohio State, the offensive play calling was just a sham. Once again, like, I don't know how many times that Ohio State is going to run into this issue before they, decide they need a change, right? Because Brian Hartline was calling plays all year long. Obviously, Ryan Day took over play calling duties to relieve Brian Hartline and to help him with his transition, which could have been a good or bad idea. Who knows if Brian Hartline was the one calling plays if the game would have been any better because it wasn't during Indiana's game. It was not a good play calling. And, you know, The closer I got to the game, the more that I thought that Ohio State could lose this game, especially as the Miami defense played higher to a higher standard than I really expected out of this game. I thought, if anything, the Ohio State defense may have been tested more, but in reality, the Ohio State defense gave up 14 points in this game. Like, I know the score was 10 points, but they gave up a touchdown at the end of the game, and it was a pick six, that really turned the tide. And so we saw Ohio State on its heels. The field goal kicker fielding, like, all you did all week was kick field goals. You're at a neutral site. You're in Dallas, freaking Texas. There really isn't a better place to have a moment, a big moment happen, right? The wind isn't a factor. All you have to do is hit the kick, and that builds momentum. And you couldn't. And I just think it was execution. Failed Ohio State. The defense did its job, and Jeremiah Smith received all over. Was did what he could in that game. Julian Sayin did too, with the lack of offensive line. I know that we were missing our starting left tackle, left guard, I believe, and Miami attacked it. Like, yeah, sometimes you just get punched in the nose so hard you can't freaking breathe, and that's kind of just what happened. I think it's a shame that Ohio State has the talent that they did. The defense continued to fight and keep Ohio State in this game, but Miami played as good of a game as you could. Carson Beck didn't make Carson Beck mistakes. The play calling was great. The defense was phenomenal. They took chances one on one, which gave the rush for Miami's defense a great advantage, with Julian Sayin having to run out of the pocket and try to make things happen, and he just couldn't. So I really just think it was the best game plan, really.
Yeah, to quickly touch upon it, Julian Sayin looked like a rookie, like JV quarterback out there. Is that a little harsh? Maybe, but his internal clock was sped up, messed up, all over the place. Ruben Bain was insane off the edge.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think this is just a testament to, again, Carson Beck has been in these big moments. He's not afraid of it. He kind of knows what's going on. Again, and Miami's haven't playing with a chip on their shoulder. They haven't been Cristobal'd yet. Cristobal kind of got it out of his system early and survived. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're Ryan Day now, I got to keep asking it, because I kind of have to keep asking it, is it worth it? Because, yeah, he brought you a national title, but that was the most stacked, even though this team had apparently more talent, but
It
still,
does. I
it
think
does.
hand over fist that this Ohio State team was more talented, and so again, it comes back to play calling. Like, you had the number one defensive coordinator last year in Jim Knowles, who left, right?
Yep.
You had the what I think was the best offensive coordinator last year in Chip Kelly. He left, right?
So dumb. Well,
And
I don't know why he left.
well, he took an NFL job, but again, I,
To
I
get
understand.
fired. To get fired.
And then you somehow the defense gets better, has done some the defense has done something that hasn't happened, I believe, in 15 or 50 years, in keeping opponents under 17 points in all of their games, with the exception of this Miami game, or up until that Miami game. And you seemingly have more offensive talent minus your running back room. You are somehow worse. Like, I wasn't even happy with the Michigan game. I really wasn't. With the talent that we had, like, I thought we should have put up more. The execution should have been better. But again, execution is what it is, and that's what this team in its entirety has a problem with, is they have not executed on multiple scenarios. Julian Sayin slipped on a QB sneak against Indiana. Jeremiah Smith missed a block, right, on that pick six in the game versus Miami. Like, that was Jeremiah Smith's man. Just whiffed on a block and was able to pick up the pick six. Julian Sayin, that was a one act. Like, there was no other read, there was no other option. Block your guy, and that yard either that's an incomplete pass, or it's probably a big game, right? And you just
Yeah.
flopped. Like, I don't put that blame on Julian Sayin, but when you don't have elements of your game that don't execute, That's kind of what it is. And I really think Brian Hartline leaving kind of took the dagger out of this team and it just cost them to bleed out.
Yeah, I just think that it's a shame that they had the talent they did. I was singing Ohio State's praises. I was beating the drum. I had to unfortunately eat my words with a Mr. Person on the Green Dog podcast for his fourth team in Miami. And Miami's playing their best football right now. And honestly, that's what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
So give them all the credit. Quickly touching upon Indiana, Alabama. Alabama, DeBoer, that seat is getting hot. And you know what's crazy? It's not even the expectations of getting to the championship, right? It's how you look. And that Alabama team looked pathetic. They look sad. They got bully balled. I haven't seen an Alabama team get bullied ball maybe my entire life. Like, I don't remember an Alabama team ever looking like that. And that was sad, pitiful. Ty Simpson was in shambles. He didn't know what to do. And the one thing I will say is that Indiana, they will hit. They will
Mm-hmm.
cook. And here's the thing: if you think you get by one dude, there's four Hoosiers coming to like put you into the ground. So when you take that into consideration, like the secondary is pretty good. I don't think it's otherworldly, but when the pass rush can do what it can and you stuff the run and you know they have to pass, it makes your life a little bit easier. It's just nothing short of impressive. And Fernando Mendoza, he's just precise. No wasted effort. He was 14 of 16, I think, passing, 3 touchdowns. Like, he wastes no time. He took a couple sacks early, and you're like, oh man, it's going to be a game. But he sat in there, he stayed poised, and he is so accurate with the ball that people just
Yeah.
keep kind of disrespecting Mendoza, I think, because of one, he's kind of a goofy guy, and some people probably don't respect Indiana right now. But you can't deny what they did to Alabama. They
I
bully
think
ball.
you can't I promise anybody who doubts Indiana, if they have a doubt about Indiana on any of the next two matchups that they could have, they've already lost. Because I don't know what Kurt Signetti eats for breakfast, man, but he's on another planet when it comes to his preparation of his team and just what he's built this team up to do.
Yeah. And he looked pissed being up 35. Oregon, Texas Tech. What a bad time for Baron Morton of 2024 to come out. That's a bad time for him to come out. He was not good. He was terrible. The whole Texas
Mm-hmm.
Tech offense was terrible. And it's a shame because that Texas Tech defense did everything they could to keep them in that game. They went into the half only down 6. Like, if you're a Tech fan, you're going, man, if the offense can just get it going, right? And it just could never do it. It was a shame, unfortunate. Dante Moore, again, I don't know what I'm missing on the Dante Moore train, but I do not see him translating to the NFL game. I just don't see it. And maybe I haven't watched enough of him. Like, maybe I have to go and rewatch the tape. But like, man,
Right.
I watched him against that Tech team, and I'm like, there's just nothing that impresses me. Nothing that it's not like Mendoza when Mendoza has the screaming accuracy that I can see, and he's not afraid to like versus like Dante Moore doesn't have that right now, and I don't
No,
know
I
what I'm missing from it because he's supposed to go number 2 to the Jets as of right now in projected mocks, but like I don't see the Dante Moore translation. I really don't see the Dante Moore hype. But that Oregon offense was really good, and the Oregon defense better than advertised.
yeah, I think his completion percentage kind of sticks out as the playmaker portion of his game. The offense of Oregon has always been a powerhouse in comparison, but a 28-3 touchdown interception ratio, y- or 28-9. I don't know what I said, but 3-1 is basically what it translates to. I completely agree with you. I don't know that the hype for him is through the roof. Maybe it's dual threat ability. Maybe it's the ability to move his feet a little bit more. I mean, it doesn't do a lot on the ground, but maybe it's again the playmaking ability. It's being able to use your legs when you need to. But I don't think it's a great QB class in general. Nonetheless, we'll see. I don't know that the Jets are going to get any better with that. I would almost think that sticking with Justin Fields may be your better option, but what do I know? The Jets don't know anything either, so I guess no bad choices for the Jets.
The Jets will mess it up somehow. I don't
They
believe.
always do.
Jumping down, Georgia and Ole Miss saving the day with an absolute instant classic. Unbelievable game. Trinidad Chambliss having Johnny Manziel moment again and again and again, saving
Mm-hmm.
them on that drive in a crucial moment in the game where they needed to have those points, and give a ton of credit to both teams. When you thought one of them were dead, they fought back, because when Ole Miss fought all the way back and then went up 10, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
Georgia's dead. And then Gunnar Stockton fought all the way back. Just bad defense by Georgia. You made a little one too many mistakes, and it came down to who had the ball last and who made the biggest mistake. And it was, unfortunately, you left the guy open on a seam route, and that Ole Miss kicker was making it from 65. You were
I
screwed
think
if
well.
they got over the 50-yard line. You were cooked, buddy. He was making everything that day. He could make
Mm-hmm.
70 yards if he wanted to. It was impressive. And if you're Georgia, man, you got to take a kind of a hard look in the mirror and see what you have, because you haven't really been the same team. I'm just interested to see what comes out of this. So, with that being said, anything you want to say before we move on?
Well, I was just gonna say I don't think that Georgia team has been as good as advertised all year long. I think they have the talent to compete with anybody, but there's definitely issues within that organization that they need fixed. And I think we've known this for a while, from players being arrested to uh just questionable, mid-season play, right? Gunnar Stockton didn't perform well, but shout out to that Ole Miss defense that stepped up when they needed to. And it really irked me at the end of this game where they really, really gave Georgia an opportunity to win the ball game at the end of this game. Like the fact that they just didn't heave that ball deep on their final play, I was almost convinced if they did that they were gonna that it was gonna be caught, and that's God watching over those SEC officials. But it's gracious, was it something? So go Ole Miss, rub it in Lane Kiffin's face, but the pile of money that he sits on with every win doesn't make me happy either. So it's a lose lose for everybody.
Let's jump into these two games here. First game is on Thursday. Second
Mm,
game is tomorrow on Friday. Depending, hopefully we get this out on Thursday, so you can listen to it before the game. Let's jump over and let's talk about these four games here, right? Talking about tonight's game, Indiana. I believe it's Indiana. Oregon is the first game, right?
correct. Yep.
And then tomorrow you get
No, I lied. It's Ole Miss, Miami.
Ole Miss, Miami Thursday night, Indiana, Oregon Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just break down the first game here. Miami, Ole Miss. Talk about two teams of destiny, it feels like. Right? Let me set
Mm-hmm.
the stage. You got two teams of destiny. You got a D2 quarterback, convert D2 national championship quarterback, converting into what is turning out to be an unbelievable season for him. He didn't even start. They were all in on this kid named Austin Simmons, who's now the Mizzou quarterback. And Trinidad Chambliss takes the starting job and never looked back when Austin Simmons got hurt. And then you also have the storyline of Lane Kiffin, the guy who built the program up only to try and leave it in ashes, and they are trying to prove that they are more than Lane Kiffin. They are
Mm-hmm.
more than, like, Lane Kiffin is not Ole Miss.
Right.
They are. So I think that's a big portion of what's happening. But then you look at Miami. You want to talk about exercising the demons of old. You got Carson Beck, right, trying to exercise his own demons. You got Mario Cristobal, and God knows we know he's trying to exercise those demons every week, right? Every game he tries not. It's like the Green Goblin mask telling him to make a dumb decision. It's like you want to come back.
Wow.
Yeah, and you have just these two teams of destiny. You have one team where the defense is playing outrageous football. On the other
Hmm.
side, you have a buzzsaw of an offense, and something's got to give. I was talking about this on the Green Dog podcast with Hunter, and I said I want both teams to win. Like I don't want both teams to lose either. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to win. I don't want a loser, and I want both teams to go out on top, right? Because they're so good, and they're going to be great for when they get to the Natty. With that being said, though, it depends on what you view it, right? Do you view Miami's defense as an unstoppable force right now, even with Trinidad Chambliss? Or do you feel that Ole Miss, they've been knocked down so many times, they always find a way to get back up? DJ, talk to me.
I mean, you really did set the stage very well here. I think you're talking about two teams where ending the regular season were on hot offensive strides, right? Against I know Citadel, Florida, Mississippi State, Tulane, and Georgia, you got 49, 34, Ole Miss. And then for Miami, you have 41, 34, 38, 10, and 24 for Miami against NC State, Virginia Tech, Pitt, A&M, and Ohio State. I think this game is solely dependent on the performance of, I'm just trying not to botch this name, Trinidad Chambliss. I think his execution in this game is going to be paramount for both sides. I think the Miami defense is capable of obviously disrupting the offensive flow of Ole Miss, right? But for an offense that has, for the most part, stifled, right? I mean, you take the last two games, right? And they've combined for, again, I'm taking their last touchdown against Ohio State off the board because it was a purposeful touchdown, and they have scored 20 points in the last two games, in playoff games, mind you. Right now, one of those was an absolute dogfight, and the other one you got help from your own defense and the defense of Ohio State in letting you score. But those were dogfight moments. And so now you've got an offense that I firmly believe is better at executing than Ohio State has been, because Ohio State was, I think the big thing was Ohio State was able to show that the Miami defense has holes, but the execution was not there for the important parts of that game. But Ole Miss, I think, is playing at a higher offensive level, and it'll be interesting to see if in the big moments that Ole Miss's defense stepped up against Georgia, if they're able to replicate that again. And if they are, it comes all the way down to Chambliss, right? If he's able to make the throws, does he make a mistake and is he able to bounce back after that mistake, right? And so I think Carson Beck, the Miami offense, is going to have a game plan that keeps them in this game. But I think it ultimately comes down to, can Chambliss make the right decisions when it's the right decision to make them? So hopefully that just wasn't one big circle that I was doing donuts in, but I like the matchup really fascinates me given what I've seen in the last, I say 4 or 5 games of these teams, but even in their last two matchups, it's been very interesting.
Yeah, I think for me, because I'm leaning Ole Miss in this game, right? I'm putting it
Hmm.
kind of out there. I'm leaning Ole Miss in this game, partly because I want to stick it to Miami fans. I think you get like it's obnoxious. It's an unreal amount of obnoxious going on. But again,
Like, you guys have met Mari on here before. Like, I lost $100, and every time
he reminds you,
he answers the phone. He's like,
yeah,
Miami up.
Mari don't want to talk about how his Finns finished in last place in the division, and this guy right here predicted the Jags to win the AFC South back in August. Thank you. No, I think when you look at it, I do think you look at the two quarterbacks. One guy's proven, the other guy, you still, for some reason, have to have these question marks about Chambliss. And I just don't think you can have them anymore. I think the question marks are with the other people. I think you look at Miami, and I think the running back, you lean Ole Miss with Quan Lacey. Yeah, Lacey's a dog, bro.
I know, but so is Fletcher, man.
But Lacey was like a big reason why they won that game against Georgia with the pass catching ability and the open space, putting his shoulder down. I think you look at receiver, and it's pretty obvious that Malachi Tony is just junkyard dog. He's so good. I think you look at both O lines, and I think Miami's O line is maybe a little bit better in terms of consistency.
Mm-hmm.
But Trinidad Chambliss is real mobile. He'll run and he'll make the throws. And I think that's what makes Ole Miss dangerous is that you know what you're getting with Carson Beck. Pocket passer, they're going to try and run the ball. Malachi Tony in space versus you. Like Ole Miss is going to try and execute a game plan, and then Trinidad Chambliss is just going to take over. And the question is, do you survive the Trinidad Chambliss takeover? That's a good. I think that if you can survive that, I think Miami comes out on top. But I don't think so. I think Trinidad Chambliss is going to go on a storybook run. And I also love the idea of Ole Miss just sticking it to Lane Kiffin, the guy who's been trying to chase this like Saban-like legacy. And he leaves for LSU. And the team that he built and the program that he built at Ole Miss wins a national title without him. Cinema. I want it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna lean Ole Miss as well. I just hope I don't regret it. I will not hear the end of it if
You
we
and
lose.
me. You and
And then
me.
I'll probably pick against them again, which will be even worse if they win the whole thing. But moving on.
Let's jump into Indiana, Oregon. Talk about two really balanced teams, two evenly matched teams, right? Looking at Indiana, and you wonder how much good does it get. You have a Heisman winner the first time in program history, the first semi-play appearance, right? You have
I
arguably
believe it's their first Rose Bowl too. First
first
Rose
Rose
Bowl win.
Bowl. First, I think this is they're at the Peach Bowl, so first Peach Bowl. It's you can't say enough about this Indiana team. With Oregon, it's a bunch of what ifs, right? It's a lot of Dan Lanning. Can he get it done? Will he be able to get over the hump, right? Can Dante Moore exercise and right the wrongs from the first game, right? Can the Oregon defense do this? Versus with Indiana, you know what you're getting. You're going to get a run game. You're going to get Mendoza being precise, and then you're going to get a defense that will stonewall you at the line of scrimmage. I don't know. It's hard to beat a team twice, right? It's incredibly hard to do it. We saw Georgia beat Alabama in their second matchup. We saw Alabama beat Oklahoma in their second matchup, right? We saw Ole Miss beat Georgia in the second matchup, right? It makes you don't really like
Having to see a team again.
having to see a team again. And Dan Lanning's a psycho. He's going to get these boys ready. But
That's what I'm waiting for. It's the big butt. You're going to convince Coach Sig.
I got to go with Sig.
You gotta go with Sig. Freaking light it up, baby.
He's a guy from that Saban tree. He knows what it takes to get his guys ready, just as much as Dan Lanning can. But I think the difference between Oregon and Indiana at this current juncture is that I don't think you've seen a more complete football team than Indiana right now.
The execution has been
They
perfect.
they don't make mistakes.
They don't flinch.
They punish you. And guess what? They don't freak out if things don't go right.
They don't lose their identity.
And the thing is, they've been battle tested. Both teams have. Both teams went to Penn State and had to go play against a tough Penn State team, regardless of how you felt about James Franklin and Aller and all that. It's still a tough place to play on the road. You can never count Indiana out. I think Mendoza in the run game will have its way. I think Indiana causes 2 turnovers like they did in the first game. And because of that, Indiana will capitalize on one of them on the next drive. And that will pull it enough buffer for Indiana to basically like lock in the rear naked choke. They'll put you to sleep.
Yeah.
And I think that's how this game's going to go. It's going to be great. It's going to be good. Expect a lot of good defense. Don't expect a ton of like big plays or scoring. And if that is happening, it's very uncharacteristic. But I'm taking SIG. I'm taking Indiana. And I cannot wait for an Ole Miss Indiana national championship.
I don't know that I could say it much better myself. I think it's such a good matchup, and I think that it's been so long since this matchup happened. The first time around, that it's almost irrelevant that they're playing each other again. I mean, the defense for Indiana gave fits to Dante Moore. I mean, caused 2 turnovers, played him in the trenches and just dominated. I mean, even Mendoza, he didn't play a stellar game. He just made less mistakes in the long run. And, it wasn't even a great game by either team. I believe the total yardage was just over like 60 yards of difference. And it was like 315 or 320 yards of total offense for Indiana in that game. But I expect kind of the same type of game. I'm expecting 30-20, 27, 27-17. I'm expecting this 10-point affair, and I don't see a world where Indiana folds right now. I just don't. I've never seen Indiana at the top. But I think based on their last 2 games that they have proven themselves to be leaps and bounds ahead of the next team. And I never thought that phrase would come out, but execution, lack of mistakes, like you said, they're disciplined and they've bought into this culture that Kurt Signetti has, that they win, that they are going to strangle you and just leave you lifeless. They will deflate you, discourage you, and they will keep you from doing what you want to do. They have not played somebody else's game all year long. They have not lost themselves, and I just don't see a world where Dan Lanning comes on top in this one. I just don't. I don't believe in this game of the second matchup theory. Yeah, this is not good. This is going to be Kurt Signetti's trip to the national title. This is just a step along the way. This is just a stone on the path, and he'll get there.
Bear with us, people. This is going to be a nice, long episode. We missed you guys too much over in the dealers.
There's so much happening. The drama in
We
sports.
appreciate you guys coming to sit at the table, dealers. Now, let's jump over into, do we want to talk transfer portal while we're still on college football, or do we want to circle back after the NFL?
I mean, if we're going to identify the people in it, I mean, I don't know how worth it is until the season's actually over. But if we want to talk about just the craziness that it is, that it's open mid-playoff run.
Let's talk about the guys that we know so far that have been officially there as of this moment in time. We currently have developments that Damon Williams, the quarterback from Washington, he signed with Washington and now is choosing to enter the transfer portal. And apparently, LSU is going after him for $6 million. Apparently, even though Sam Levitt's currently on campus. I don't know. He has a do not contact clause, and apparently Washington is going to pursue all legal avenues. They're going to pursue all legal avenues that they can because Damon Williams did, in fact, sign a legal piece of documentation. Besides the point, that's a developing story. We'll jump to that on the TikTok as that goes. But let's talk about probably the biggest quarterback or second biggest quarterback, depending on how you look at him, Brendan Sorsby, going to, who do you think was the biggest quarterback?
I thought you were going to give the guy from North Texas.
No. I always knew. Let's talk. Fine, we'll talk about him. let's talk about Drew
I thought he
Mestamaker.
was going to be the biggest name coming out of there because he's from a small program, but led the season in passing yards and
I think
was one of the
Sorsby
most, I think, sought after ones. And then he wound up at Oklahoma State.
Once Sorsby went in the portal, I was like, this guy is going to be the hottest commodity. He wasn't really good at Cincinnati. He's now going to go to Tech. He's going to have way more fun, way more talent. He's going to have a better offense. And Tech, if they just do what they did and reload on defense and on offense, and now they have a better quarterback than Brendan Morton. Now they have Sorsby. I think that's an incredible get for Tech. It's just, again, it's free agency out here, right? That's really all it is.
Literally.
Right, so Sorsby going to Tech, not surprising. I kind of was tracking that super early on. Not surprising either was Drew Mestamaker going to Oklahoma State. He is just following his coach from North Texas. And North Texas, a bunch of dudes left North Texas to go to Oklahoma State. So Oklahoma State is now North Texas adjacent.
Which I just think is I'm just so curious to see what Oklahoma State does next year. Like seeing the just transplant of one team to another, and now you're going from group of five to power five, and you were also a really bad team the year before. Like, I'm really curious to see where Oklahoma State goes. Like, I am that'll be a team I keep my eyes out for this year for sure.
So Mestamaker to Oklahoma State, really good move. Mizzou gets Austin Simmons. Kind of in a surprising move. Bo Prabula is in the portal. I
Hmm.
think he's going to Virginia Tech. I've seen a lot of people say Virginia Tech. Just kind of makes a lot of sense. He's going to go back with Franklin. Makes a lot of sense in that offense. But, you got, hold on, watching Iowa, and he bricks a three. Iowa loses to Minnesota. Anyways, Austin Simmons, the joke that I'm currently running, and listen, I love my Mizzou Tigers. I love them to death. I want them to win. But we had a quarterback that couldn't throw before, and we got a quarterback who still can't throw, but he can throw lefty. So, sick. Austin Simmons was not good at Ole Miss.
Right.
But if we feel like Austin Simmons is better than Zollers, I'm okay with that if Zollers needs to sit one more year. But I'm not, like, I don't want to do this thing where we're going to just, like, Zollers. I don't want to do this thing where we tease Zollers about being a starter and then we just keep going after quarterback in the portal. That's not how Mizzou has worked, has operated. Like, Zollers should be a 3-year quarterback at Mizzou, and instead we're bringing in an Austin Simmons. Make it make sense. But Drink is loading up on the defensive side of the ball. So he got Robert Woodward from Auburn, SEC, all first team, all SEC linebacker. Dog. Heat-seeking missile. So Drink's loading up. I just think he keeps missing on quarterback, unfortunately, and hopefully he can right the wrong with Austin Simmons. Raiola, still out there. I think he's going to Oregon. I think that's kind of the best spot for him, talent-wise, scheme-wise. Allows him to, like, really open up his arm in the pass game. I think that's kind of a better fit for Raiola. You got any?
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then I think the only other big fish left, well, two big fishes are left. It's just Sam Levitt, who nobody really knows where he's going. I saw a lot of movement to Kentucky. I'm seeing a lot of movement to LSU. I really don't know what's happening.
Sam Levitt was Arizona
Arizona
State.
State, yep.
Okay. That didn't make much sense to me.
I think I've seen a lot of reports on Twitter that he got kicked off the team. Got kicked off.
Mm.
Kenny Dillingham won't admit it, but I think he got kicked off. And then obviously DJ Lagway is the other big fish. He was just at Virginia. He was at Florida State the other day, and he's coming to Baylor this week. So we shall see what DJ Lagway decides he would like to do moving forward. Other than that, the biggest under the radar move that I'm a super big fan of was Colton Joseph, the Old Dominion quarterback, going to Wisconsin. That was a great move. He's super mobile, really good arm. He's going to adjust well to the Big Ten. And he watched some film on him, DJ. He's not a typical Wisconsin quarterback.
Right.
So I like what Wisconsin kind of has going there. And yeah, I like where a lot of teams are going here. Well, let's jump and talk about the NFL wild card this weekend, right? The Broncos and the Seahawks both claimed their 1 seeds, so they get the first round bye. And
Is
DJ,
this
this
the
is
first
looking
time
like
that
a
both of these teams have? Is this the first time both of these teams have done this since 2014? Is this Peyton Manning versus
first
Russell
Super
Wilson?
Bowl.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. How about that?
I think when you look at it, first let's talk about, here. I think we're set up for an all-time playoff weekend.
What about the just end of the regular season and how just cinematically perfect it kind of was? People having to rely on other teams to win. You set up
Oh
yourself
my
up
God, the
for
Bucks.
Ravens, Steelers, having the winner go home game.
Then you had the Bucks doing what they did, where they won their game, which those referees need to be investigated in that Carolina game. Oh my God, were they bad? But like Tampa Bay wins, and then you got to rely on Atlanta to win if you're the Saints, if you're the Panthers, I mean. And the Panthers get in at 8 and 9. Then you're looking at the battle between the 2 and 3 seeds, and the Eagles choose to rest their players, and the Bears choose to try and win.
Right.
Like they played their starters, the Eagles choose not to play theirs, right? Both teams lose, so therefore the Eagles don't get the 2 seed, right?
Right.
On the opposite side, you got the Jags trying to win the AFC South and try and get the 2 seed, with the Patriots trying to win the 2 seed. And I think they already won the division, but they're trying to win the 2 seed. And it all worked out. Like, it's so good. It was so good. And I feel bad for Tyler Loop, man. That's just a tough, terrible break, man. But I hate the Steelers. But I'm glad Aaron Rodgers gets one more go in the playoffs.
Yeah. No, it was just amazing how competitive the divisions were this year. I think this was one of the best years of football. I mean, you had New England and Buffalo battling it out. And obviously those two, and then you had, well, I guess you had two conferences, no, three conferences with three teams or two teams in there. What was it, the NFC then? One, two, one. Yeah, and then the NFC West. How about the NFC West, man? And how good they ended up being this year. But just to how close these divisions were. I mean, Packers made it within 2 games, but Minnesota Vikings, 1 game short. The Detroit Lions finishing last in their division. Who would have thought that? The Carolina Panthers winning their division tied for first place and having to rely on tiebreakers. And the freaking Panthers lost twice, I believe. Question mark? It says losing streak of 2. Did they lose on Sunday? The
Yeah.
Panthers?
Yeah, they lost on Saturday.
They needed the Saints.
The Saints lost. That's how they
The
made it in,
Saints
because
lost.
the Falcons won.
Okay, they played
I
the
mean,
Falcons.
when you look at it, the season kind of had everything you kind of wanted. Like, you got the Chiefs to be terrible. Like, that was great.
Right?
I think what's crazy is that I think it goes to show you how hard it is to win in the NFL. And
Yeah.
again, look at the Bengals, look at the Vikings. Like, the fact that the Vikings went, they were 4-8, and they won the last 5 games and were on the precipice of making a wild card was nuts. It's nuts. Like, it shouldn't have mattered. But for some reason, J.J. McCarthy and the team did. The defense stepped up, and Brian Flores is probably going to get a head coaching job, right? And say what you will about Minnesota, but J.J. looked solid, man. He's looking good still. But then you look at Detroit. Detroit finished last in the division at 9-8. Bonkers.
Yeah.
And that's a team where we all kind of were like super high on them, but it goes to show coaching and play calling matters. Look at the Bears. Look at the Jags. Look at the
Mm-hmm.
Patriots, right? Coaching matters. And I think when you look at the Jags, they are just an unbelievable story, because they were what? They were like 5-8 too, or 3-8, whatever they were. Not 3-8. They were because they ended up 13-4. I think they were like 1-3, 2-4, something like that, and they ripped off 9 straight wins. Like, impressive stuff. Impressive stuff out of the Jags. Denver has looked really good all year. The Bo Nix experience. But then you get the Patriots, who benefit from the easiest schedule in the NFL. They've only played only a couple teams over 500, and they only have 2 wins over 500 teams.
Right.
And they're the 2 seed. Then you get the Steelers and Tomlin, and then you get the Chargers and the Texans, with one of the best defenses that the NFL has ever seen. It's going to be a cinema. So let's break these down here, DJ. Let's talk.
Hit me.
Let's talk the first game. First game on Saturday is. I thought I had it pulled up. I don't. Let me redo this.
It is Rams Panthers at 4:30.
Right, we're going to talk Rams Panthers here. It is, and here's the thing though: the Panthers and the Rams have played, and the Panthers have won. So you can't discount Carolina. But we will.
We're gonna count them out. I really like this team. I just think they're them playing in Carolina too kind of sways me closer to Carolina, but I don't think you can beat the experience that LA has on their side, from head coach to Matthew Stafford to even Puka Nakua, who's still super young. Defensive capabilities. I mean, freaking, you're comparing sack leaders, and the sack leader for LA is their linebacker, Byron Young, right? Well, he's probably like a modified linebacker, you know, defensive end. Regardless, I mean, uh, I think the reality is that the Rams should, even on paper, win this game. They're predicted to win this game, and I think they'll be too much for Carolina, as especially when did they play this season? Was it early?
Yes, I believe so.
I'm even tempted to believe that nobody took Carolina seriously in the beginning of
Actually,
this
no, they played
season.
them. What was it? That's 18, 17, 16, 15. They played them week 14 or 13. So a little
Well,
bit more recent, but they won on a game-winning field goal, 31-28. Uh, nothing, Stafford had 2 picks. Bryce Young didn't have any interceptions.
I just,
But the Rams had 3 turnovers, and the Panthers did not. And the
I mean,
Panthers were 3 of 3 on 4th down.
and then I think that's the key to your game. Really comes down to turnovers. Then, if Carolina can force some turnovers, why not? Right? Get the crowd on your side. If Bryce Young continues to play like he has, if is it Ricky Dowdle is the running back for them? He's been amazing this season. Since leaving Dallas. Um, Shout out to the fantasy owners that picked him up. Um, but this game has Rams written all over for me. I kind of hope I'm wrong, but I kind of hope I don't, because I'm a big Matthew Stafford fan. But it would be nice to see Carolina kind of move on. I know that probably hurts my Bucks fans out there, but I don't live here to please.
Yeah, I think the Rams take this one. I think it's going to be a Puka Nakua monster game. Moving on, let's stay in the NFC here. Not stay in the NFC. Let's talk about the second game on Saturday. The Packers and the Bears split the
Packers
regular
Bears.
season. We're going to get a classic of the game. LaFleur, Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love. What do you think? Where do you see the edge? Green Bay has no Parsons, but they did pick up Trayvon Diggs to try and aid in the secondary. The Bears defense is very susceptible, but the Bears offense is a juggernaut. It can go hang with the best of them. I'll start off here. I'm leaning Chicago. I think the Bears take it. I like Caleb Williams in that run game. They have what they need to do to win. And the thing is, I think Odunze is going to be back. Luther Burden's kind of been unlocked. And you still have DJ Moore with the 2 tight ends and the sets and the motions that Johnson can run. I think they'll just outscore Green Bay. And I think Green Bay is just a little bit too banged up, man. They're so banged up. Love and Willis are banged up. The wide receivers are banged up. Josh Jacobs is banged up. I just think it's a little too much for Green Bay to overcome. And also, I think the weather being in Chicago, that crowd is going to be rabid. Divisional game. I'm leading Chicago. I'm taking the Bears in this one.
I think This is arguably going to be Caleb Williams. Well, this is his first playoff game. I think that's going to hold its own amount of pressure. I mean, we could throw back to college to see I mean, Caleb Williams' journey through the NFL thus far and through his career has been trial and error, right? And I think this is where I'm going to draw the line because I like the Bears in this game too. My big question mark is going to be Caleb Williams. Can he execute to the magnitude that he has for a majority of this season? We've seen some dips. We've seen some mountains and valleys from his performances all year long. I mean, they're going in with back-to-back losses right now, and I don't like how that looks. And then they split, like you said, they split, with the advantage going to the home team in this series this year. It's really just on Caleb Williams. I think the experience with LaFleur, I think Jordan Love's experience, playoff experience in general, and just kind of how closely these games have been played. I'm going to pick the Packers, especially going in with some upside here, with wins over the Commanders and the Lions. But it's not like a healthy I'm picking the Packers. It's just I'm gonna bank on Caleb Williams making a couple mistakes, either doing too much or making the wrong read. And I think the Green Bay defense is going to capitalize on it. And I think that's inevitably what's going to send the Bears home.
Love that. Love that. I'm on conformity talk while you were talking because I'm like trying to see what's happening here. Let's start on Sunday. Let's start Sunday. The Bills and the Jags. You want to talk about just two, like, for the Bills, there's no better time to get
And
to the
right
Super Bowl
now,
than right now. You have no Mahomes, you have no Burrow, and you have no Lamar. And here's the thing, you're going to have to face a Jags team that is kind of like Trevor Lawrence has played in the playoffs a little bit, so he knows what it takes, right? You got a young Patriots team, right, in Drake May, and then you're probably going to face the likes of the Broncos or the Texans.
the road is not easy.
A road is not easy. The road is not easy,
This will
but
not be an illegitimate if he gets his Super Bowl.
this is the easiest road you've had to face ever.
Well, I wouldn't even consider it the easiest. It's just different. He's not running into what his kryptonite has been.
It's the best opportunity you've had to reach a Super Bowl because you don't have, like I said, no Lamar, no Burrow, no Mahomes.
I would kind of argue against it. But hear me out here. I think knowing what's coming and being able to execute has almost been the kryptonite. You tend to play these teams over and over again. You bring out your special playbook in the NFL, but you still rely on the basics, right? And it's not just Josh Allen. I mean, God knows it's not been just Josh Allen, right? It's been the defense, it's been the offense, it's been Josh Allen before, but it's not been just him, right? We've seen him play excellent and just fall short. I mean, we throw back to a rule change that they made because of this man here and how dominant he was, and the fact that he didn't get an opportunity to do
Well,
it. They made a
normally,
whole NFL change
well,
because of how
normally,
cinematic it was.
normally with the Bills, it's the defense that can't seem to like figure it out. They
Yeah,
fi-
so that's what I'm saying is now not only are you not going against a Mahomes or a Burrow or a Jackson, but now it's different. And I don't know that the difference is better. Does that make sense? Like just because it's not those three does not mean that it's going to be easier. I mean, we thought the what did they play Kansas City last year to get yeah. Well, I mean, Kansas
Kansas
City
City had to
last year
go.
was arguably just as weak of a team as they were this year,
Kansas
except
City
now
had to
they
go to
just,
them too. They lost at home.
I know. But we thought they were a weak team last year, and they still found a way to win.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Bills, and let's talk about the Bills and the Jags as a matchup here, right?
Hmm.
I think when you look at them, the Jags defense is sneaky, one of the better defenses in the entire league. I think they have, I don't know if it's the most turnovers, but like it is like they have one of the best turnover rates in the entire league, right? I'm trying to look up interceptions here. Turnovers. The Jags are number 3 in the league with 13 turnovers. Right behind
Mm-hmm.
the Texans and the Bears. Right. The Bills on offense though are number 4 in offense. You're looking at again a defensive side of the ball, and again, I believe I'm looking it up here. The Jags again in the top 10, only giving up about 300-ish yards a game. The Bills give up a lot more, right? And it's the Jags offense is playing. I take that back. The Buffalo defense gives up 293, but the Jags offense right now is clicking on all cylinders. Trevor Lawrence has unlocked himself out of whatever prison he was mentally. He is using his legs. He is smart with the ball. He is taking care of it. He's executing at a high level. This is the Trevor Lawrence that I saw in college and the dude who I thought was going to be the next great NFL quarterback. And I love the way Trevor Lawrence plays. I love the way he's going. It's going to be a treat to watch both him and Allen play against each other. And the Bills' defense, though, is really good. You got Christian Benford, Villanova guy on the other side, locking down your best wide receiver. But the thing about the Jags, though, is they have multiple ways to beat you. Beat you in the run game. Beat you with Parker Washington, Brian Thomas Jr. May I introduce you to Brenton Strange or Jacoby Myers, right? In the
Mm-hmm.
defense, Josh Hines Allen, I think, had one of his best defensive seasons of his career. Like, I think sack wise, he was one of up there this year for him. So when you look at it as a matchup, I'm truly intrigued by it. Josh Hines Allen had 8 sacks this season, right? And
Yeah.
again, he had incredible, incredible difficulties throughout the entirety of his career. But here he is for the Jags doing what he needs to do. The linebacker core of the Jags is great. The secondary is underrated. The offense is clicking on all cylinders versus a Bills team that feels like they stumbled into the playoffs. But guess who they have? The best quarterback in the NFL. They have Josh Allen. They have a defense that can get after the quarterback. They have a lockdown secondary. It's going to come down to the little things.
Yep.
Timely drives. Can you come away with points? Can you cause a turnover? And I think if whoever wins 2 out of 3 of those is going to win this game. I'm taking the Jags, baby. Duval. It's time,
Uh,
baby.
Lord knows that I
And I
am a
love Josh.
certi
I love Josh Allen.
and Lord knows I am a certified Trevor Lawrence hater. I have hated on him since he came into the league, and I've been right for a majority of my takes on him. He has underperformed through what year is this for him? Is year 5, 6?
I think 5 or 6.
So he has we'll just call it 6. This is year 6. He has underperformed for 5 and 3/4 of, I'm sorry, 5 and 1/4 of his career. He's had games where he's shown signs of greatness, but it also generally is followed up. I don't
Year
care.
5.
I'm sorry, year
Year 5.
5. So 4 and 1/4, he has been a letdown in my head, right? When it mattered, he pretty much failed. I mean, he had glimmers of hope. Again, the comeback against San Diego. I saw glimpses of good against good teams in the regular season, but for the most part, you can blame it on the lack of stars or the coaching in the beginning of his career. Fine, I'll give it to you. But Trevor Lawrence is still Trevor Lawrence. I think he made bad decision making. It was careless with the ball, but something in him
He
has
was,
clicked,
which he has, which he
which
was.
is where I'm going. Which is where I'm completing my circle here. Right? Something has clicked in him. I am not going to sit here and say that I'm a believer, but at the level that you've played or that he's played at, you are going to Jacksonville, which is, I don't care, one of the more hostile crowds in the
That
NFL
crowd is going to be
when the
drunk.
bank is full. When the bank is full, it is a miserable place to play.
You don't know.
Miserable.
You don't know about the Duval degenerates down there.
No, they don't. No, I don't even know, but I know. You know? And the way the Jags defense, I was talking with a buddy of mine. The Jags defense, the zone coverage isn't the best. I I don't know how much I trust the Buffalo offense in man coverage, which I think leads and plays into the Jaguars' favor. And then you have to rely on Josh Allen, which you can, but how much can you before the Jacksonville defense just swarms you? If they take away your options, can Josh Allen make the right play? Can James Cook in the backfield, right? Can he make the misses happen if your passing game isn't there? Can he make enough? And I'm rooting for Josh Allen. Again, I'm a certified Trevor hater. I hope he folds. And I'm very interested to see now that he's back in this playoff push if he's able to continue in a new atmosphere. But we have also seen the Buffalo Bills kick it up a notch in playoff time. But I will revert back to the I will revert back to momentum. I'm a big fan of momentum, and with the way that each of these teams have performed in their last 5 games, the freaking Jags are cooking. And the Bills have looked questionable, even with wins in some of these games. And it's not like they could just throw them away. I mean, Buffalo's what? What seed is Buffalo right now?
They're a six
Buffalo's a
seed.
6 seed. So it's not like they could just afford to lose those games, right? Like they're playing to win. And they played too close for my liking. And I know that the Jags have played a couple of beat up teams like the Jets, Indianapolis, and Tennessee. But again, it's can and are you doing the necessary things? Are you not making mistakes? Are you hitting the gaps when you're supposed to? Are you just doing the fundamental things to win? And the Jags are doing that. And I gotta go with the Jags. Duval, baby. Oh. So RIP to Josh
Duval.
Allen. I don't. He's gonna catch so much hate if he loses this game, and I'm
It's
gonna
gonna
hate it.
it's gonna turn into Josh Allen will never win the big one. But
But I'm gonna say this before we move on to the next one. I really do believe that it's more of a curse that the teams that he's used to playing aren't in here. I'm a devout believer in that theory this year. That
he's gotta
it's been
exercise the
consistent.
demon.
It's consistently the wrong or the same teams that he's losing to, but now you just switch them up. They're different. I just don't like the
I
aspect of that.
think I hate to say it, I think the like mindset of the Bills kind of taking like the Patriots approach of like stud running back, we'll figure it out at receiver with two great tight ends. And unfortunately, you haven't been able to figure it out with the wide receivers. The wide receivers are not talented enough to win on their own.
And I
Like
don't understand how they're not getting one. I mean, maybe they spend too much money on the defense, but
they have the ability to. They just chose not to.
it's just insane to me. I don't even know why people aren't asking to go to Buffalo. I mean, I know it's cold, but like, if you want to
Well,
win,
they're getting an indoor stadium now.
even better. Well, I mean, yeah,
Technically retractable roof, but same concept.
yeah, not really.
It's the same cookie cutter stadium that
Ugh,
every stadium looks like the
so
Raiders.
high.
No, the Raiders won.
Yeah, whatever.
SoFi's unique though in and of itself, but
Whatever.
well, let's jump into the afternoon Sunday game, the matinee per se. Right, I always view whoever is in that 4 o'clock slot as like a little bit more of a higher emphasis of a game. Right, I don't know why. Maybe that's just a personal thing. But we get the Niners and the Eagles.
Classic.
Probably the best matchup on Sunday. Man, is this game going to be good?
So, that might even be debatable. Sunday? Yeah, that is the best matchup on Sunday. You're right.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Purdy. The big question is, will Trent Williams be back for this game? I don't think he was back for the game against Seattle, and Seattle's defense tore Brock Purdy apart. The Eagles have a good defense. It's not as good as Seattle's, but it is very good. They have the chance to get Brock Purdy fit. But the Eagles' offense has been abysmal with Joe Batula as the offensive coordinator. But Hurts seems to figure out in these moments what it takes to win. The defense and the staff of the Eagles know what it needs to take to win. Barkley, and the only problem with the Eagles is that the O-line is so banged up, man. That is not the same O-line that they've had in years previous.
Yeah, but they're not
You look,
going against it. But they're not going against a team that has their
the
freaking
deep,
defense healthy.
the 49ers defense is not great. They kind of kept Darnold at bay, but again, they gave up enough points to lose, unfortunately. They have a great secondary, so I expect passing to be hard for the Eagles, but they were susceptible to the run, as we saw with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet last week, as we saw with Monungai and Swift in the Niners Bears game. Like, they are susceptible to the run, and the Eagles have one of the best running backs, and they're going to run the ball.
I mean, ditto. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, but the Eagles' defensive line is a lot better than the Niners in terms of the run game, stopping the run. But
Right.
the problem is they have McCaffrey, who can also catch balls out of the backfield, who's unstoppable.
That Niner defense has held up better than what I thought I was getting ready to read.
They're good. They're a good defense, but the last couple weeks they've been getting gashed in the run game. They've been getting gashed when you watch them.
Yeah. I mean, I think the perk for Philadelphia, this team's identity when it gets to the playoffs is don't do too much. Don't overthink it. Like, and stick to your guns, right? Do what you do well. And, hate Jalen Hurts as much as you want to, but I mean, one, I think that the debate over Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts is a lot closer than people are comfortable saying. But Jalen Hurts is a great game manager, right? Who's got some special abilities to get you out of jams. He's just not the flashiest. I don't think Philadelphia in and of itself is the flashiest team. And I think that what has made Kansas City so dominant in years past is that they've just done the little things good. And then when they had Tyreek Hill, they were able to expand that good with some dynamic playmaking. But this Philadelphia team just does the basics so well. And right now for the 49ers, like, though their offense is pretty healthy, I just something about they're playing in Philly, which is going to be hostile. It's going to be a hostile crowd. And I don't like a lot of the testing, like the testing that San Francisco's gone through. I mean, in their last few games, I mean, even all season, I mean, they haven't played the best of opponents. Like, I feel like this is one of the weaker schedules that I'm looking at right now. I mean, they finished the season Falcons, Bucks, Rams, Jags, good team, Cardinals, Saints, Seahawks, good team. And the Bucks are a feisty team. I don't know. I don't like the test that they've really gone through. And not that the Eagles to finish up the season have been much better. I mean, they lost to the Chargers. They beat the crap out of Vegas. They beat the crap out of Washington. They did beat Buffalo, which is a great win,
Yeah, but
especially in the cold. And they didn't play
that game
anybody versus Washington.
but that game is when you watch that game, man, the Eagles survived that, but a win's a win. A win is a
Yeah,
win.
right.
I
And
think
so
I'm
I'm rocking
leaning.
with the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles. I think it's going to be an ugly game. I think it's going to be close, but I think the Eagles find a way. Rangers. I think I just lost my microphone. That's so lovely.
You did. But I thought we went dark there. I was like, no.
It switched. Whatever. That's fine. Let's talk about the Patriots and the Chargers. This one's real interesting because the Chargers on paper have more talent on the offensive side of the ball than the Patriots do, but the Patriots just know how to play good football. They know how Drake May's been really consistent. The run game has been good. Diggs has kind of popped up lately. The defense with Christian Gonzalez is incredible. And the Chargers also historically have sucked in the playoffs. They have, I don't know when's the last time they even won a playoff game, but when you look at them and what you see, I just don't see the Chargers walking into New England when they're going to the playoffs for the first time since maybe the Brady era. Can't remember if Mac Jones led them to the playoffs or not. I think he did. So like a year after the Brady era, like this crowd's going to be incredible. They're going to be feverish. It's going to be cold. Herbert in the hand is still not fully healed. I'm leaning Drake May. I'm leaning Variable. It's going to be a classic chess match. I just think the way Drake May is played, I think he isn't afraid of the moment. I think he's going to have some things to, like, he's going to have to overcome. But I like Drake May and the Patriots to come out on top on Sunday Night Football.
I'm really not going to hold too much of an argument because I totally agree. Drake May's MVP caliber season. I think he is top two in MVP voting right now? Top three? Question mark. I mean, there's a reason for that. I mean, Travion Henderson isn't even, I believe, isn't even the starting running back for this team and has got 1,000 yards rushing. He's been dominant on the ground. The run game for the Patriots is crazy in general. And then that run game itself is without what's his name throwing the ball. And then you add that into the equation, they can do both, which I think they will. I don't think the Chargers stand a chance. I'm thinking like arguably a blowout, maybe two scores, maybe even 17-point game in favor of the Patriots.
Let's talk Monday Night Football, the Texans and the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers going up against that vaulted Houston defense that gets after Danielle Hunter. Most underrated pass rusher in the entire league, Danielle Hunter. I don't love both quarterbacks in this matchup. Like, CJ Stroud's just a boring quarterback. He doesn't do anything sexy. But, man, they find ways to move the ball and they find ways to score points. And Kylie Fairbairn finds ways to kick field goals. But when the defense does its job, you can win low-scoring games. I think the Steelers are going to put up a bigger fight than most people think. I don't know what voodoo they have in Heinz Field. I know it's Acrisure now, but it's Heinz Field. I don't
It's
know
Heinz
what.
Field.
Yeah, I don't know what voodoo they had. Right? It's not voodoo. Apparently, it was God with the end zone being blessed with holy water by a priest. But where do they go? Where do you see Aaron Rodgers just kind of takes over and starts calling his own plays, man? Because I think Arthur Smith is a bozo. So Aaron Rodgers just does it. I think the Texans defense is going to give Rodgers a lot of fits. I think the secondary is going to make life really hard for Rodgers to throw, which will make just him being frustrated. And the thing is, if he can't get the ball moving downfield, he's just going to dink and dunk it. And we'll see. But I'm leaning Texans. But I think this game's going to be a lot closer than people are expecting this game to be.
I think this is arguably the game of the weekend of the wild card. And really, I think it comes down to is how much is everybody forgets Pittsburgh's defense is always and continues to be really good. Cam Hayward, TJ Watt on the other side of the ball. I mean, I think Stroud becomes such a boring quarterback because they need so much extra protection that he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything that allows, I feel like, his game to really open up because, again, that offensive line is so garbage. So garbage. And CJ Stroud's been injured a lot this year. I believe he missed 4 games, 5 games. And I just think this Texans team is resilient. I think, again, the question mark becomes the Texans O line versus a crazy good defensive line for Pittsburgh. And I think this is not the same Texans team that went into the wild card a couple years ago against Cleveland. I think I think this Pittsburgh team is going to be too much for that offensive line. I think the secondary for Pittsburgh isn't it's not as good as Houston for sure, but I think with the experience of Rodgers and I think preparing for this game, I think Rodgers is going to be able to pick apart the places that will work for him in this Pittsburgh offense. And I think that's going to be the difference. Like you said, dink and dunks, finding the pocket in the zone. And I think it's going to come down to Aaron Rodgers making those throws. So with that, I'm actually going to go Pittsburgh in this game. I think Heinz Field going, um, I'm sorry.
Terrible towels, renegade.
I want the Texans to win. Don't get me wrong, but big CJ Stroud fan over here. But I can't trust the offensive line for the Texans. I can't. And if CJ Stroud can't move the ball down the field, you really can't. That Texans team doesn't have an identity past that for the most part, and it's their defense. But again, I don't think that they're going to be able to hold for the length of time that it'll take for Mike Tomlin and that Pittsburgh defense and Aaron Rodgers to cipher through what they can make work. I think in phases of football, I think Pittsburgh executes better in more.
Let's talk a little Black Monday here. Fired coaches all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk. Let's just go quickly. Let's try and wrap this up real quick here.
Whoa. I
I
didn't
know.
even see that
Yep.
freaking Baltimore.
Let's start there.
Whoa.
Let's start there. Baltimore
Whoa.
fires John Harbaugh after 18 years at the helm. He's won the
Whoa.
division. He's led them to the playoffs the last X number of years. Lamar Jackson's been hurt, but apparently leadership feels that it's time to move on from John Harbaugh. I do not agree with this move. He's had three
Whoa.
losing. You were a field goal away from making the playoffs. And I think this is a little too aggressive of a move. I think it's too aggressive. I kind of have no words because it's a guy you don't expect to get fired, right? It's not like Tomlin, where you've been calling for Tomlin's head for the last 4 seasons because they try and do this BS. He's never been below 500, and it's just like his teams are just terrible, though. Harbaugh, though, he was in an AFC Championship game. What, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, with the
Something like
Chiefs?
that.
And now he's gone. He's out of a job. I don't get the move. I don't think it makes sense.
Well, where was he at last year with the Bills? Was that just a wild card game?
It was divisional, I think. It was a divisional game. So again, I don't know where you go from here. It's you were 8-9 this past season, right? It's not exactly ideal, but last year you were. Let's take a look here. They only had 5 losses last year, right? They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They were 12-5 last year. 12-5. Lost to Buffalo in the divisional, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago, you lost to Kansas City in the conference title game, and you were again, you were 13-4, and here we are. John Harbaugh is out of a job for going 8-9. I don't agree with the move. I think it's a terrible decision. That's you
Well,
just
he'll have plenty
also
of
you don't
options to go to.
yeah, but you also don't give yourself any grace for Lamar being hurt and some other things. But I think it's a bad
Maybe
move. I think it's
they
a bad
feel like
move.
he's just a James Franklin.
Maybe, but I think again, it may not be greener on the other side.
It may not be greener on the other side.
We'll see.
But
We'll
I
see
will
who
say
they
that
hire. We'll
we'll
see who
see
they
where he
hire.
goes too, because that'll be
Yep.
a quick pickup.
Yep. Yes, it will be. Yes, it will be. Other big news: Kevin Stefanski out in Cleveland. Thank goodness. He had too many chances in Cleveland. He should have been fired 2 years ago. I think there's a lot of reports coming out saying he wasn't a part of the Deshaun Watson trade. Like he didn't want that move. Sucks, buddy. You also couldn't. You also ran Baker Mayfield out of town because of your negligence. Then this year you threw negligence. You could tell Baker was battling through a shoulder injury, and then they kicked Baker to the curb. You know it too. You know it. You
I've
know
got
it.
some hot takes for that one. I'm gonna let you finish, but
Then you got him drafting 2 quarterbacks with Andrew Berry, and Shador was the better of the two, and he just would never speak highly about him. I think that tells you a lot about Stefanski and what he felt like about Shador. I am surprised Andrew Berry still has a job, though. I know he's done good on drafting, but the ultimate I don't know. I think you got to clean house fully sometimes. But if Andrew Berry, if you feel confident in the way he's drafted, because this past draft class, you're probably going to have a defensive rookie of the year in Carson Schweschinger. Judkins was fantastic. And your 2 quarterbacks weren't terrible, but they're not starters. You also hit on Harold Fannin Jr. So I'm not. Andrew Berry's got some things going for him, but I don't know if it's enough to keep a job per se.
I mean I totally agree. The with the at least Barry, the GM, keeping a job again. The drafting tends to be Cleveland's highlight. They get people that they like. Again, the whole Cleveland QB situation I think it was just a mess from the start. But it really seemed like there was no point in Stefanski's time where it seemed like he was actually the person in charge of this team. And I think that's where people get it twisted. I think if you were going to bail out on Baker Mayfield and if you were going to make a move for Deshaun Watson, they made the moves when they thought it was the best time, right? I was a fan when Baker was drafted. I was a big fan of the Baker pick.
He led y'all to the playoffs.
He did, and then yes, the next year it kind of took a dump. They took a trade that they thought would better their team, despite whatever Watson got into afterwards or was accused of afterwards. I don't know if the organization could have or should have or would have thought it would have been better go away or if they knew about it. But the team went downhill. It's not like the Baker leaving, they shouldn't have been able to put a quarterback at the helm of that team and then not succeed. I mean, you had Chubb, I believe you still had Landry over there. Like you had weapons outside. You had an offensive line that was one of the best in the league. And then on the defensive side, you still had Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and a secondary that kept you in ball games. Again, with the decisions year after year that the team made, it just felt like it got further and further away from the Cleveland team that actually succeeded. And that all happened after the trade for Deshaun Watson. And that's where I think it went all downhill. I don't think Kevin Stefanski is as bad of a head coach. I just think that he has been a puppet for a long time. And I'm happy for him. I think I'm happier for him than I am the organization because I really liked him as a coach. I think the quarterback struggle again. I don't think he wanted Sanders. I really don't know where he came in. Whether or not he's the better quarterback now, I really don't care. But when you're battling your own organization for a team that you're supposed to be running, and then you also have outside factors, right? I'm not a believer really in Sanders. I'm really not. But
Not
I'm like, I
either.
hope he proves me wrong. I
But he
really
was
do.
but he was better. He was the better of the two quarterbacks. Since my mic's not where, I'll just get out of here. He was the better of the two quarterbacks, right? You had
When
Flack.
at what point though?
He's
Coming out of college? I wouldn't
no.
agree with that.
I think. But here's the thing, though. You have something now that you can actually use as comparable. They both have played in the NFL now. They both have played games. And when you watch them, Shador seems to have a better grasp on like what it means to like be a quarterback. Granted, Cleveland is so bad it's not saying a whole lot. I just think he executed the offense a little bit better than Gabriel. But
I agree.
but the Cleveland everything makes zero sense in hindsight. You started like if you were going to go with Gabriel and Shador, why would you start Flacco? And then you trade Flacco. Like there's been a lot of moves by Barry that's a little bit concerning, right? And I think also Stefanski, I think, was sick of it. I do agree. I don't think he wanted Shador, but even if you get a guy you don't like, you don't publicly throw him under the bus all the time, regardless of whatever the Shador show is. And again, I think he'll get another job. He may have to go be an OC somewhere again. But I think Stefanski has done enough in Cleveland that people are just. I think it was time to get. I think it's time to get a fresh face in there, and hopefully you can right some of the wrongs with a new quarterback, or you run it back again and try and be bad again. I don't know. You guys are kind of stuck in perpetual like hell.
It
Unfortunately,
is. It is. This is its own hell. But I kind of like some of the openings that are there. I think if Cleveland, for whatever reason, if Harbaugh has any desire to come to Cleveland, if they're not going like throwing all the money in the world out at him, I think we're doing something wrong.
touching upon
Or
John.
Pete Carroll.
Yeah, Jonathan Gannon got fired out of Arizona. He just could never figure it out in Arizona. He was supposed to be a defensive guy, couldn't figure out the defense, and I think it tells you volumes of what your team and your talent is when your backup quarterback and your wide receiver who didn't really do anything until I think it was week 11 pop off. Like Michael Wilson had 1,000 yards and I think he started the season in like week 11. Like he
Mm.
was Puka level force fed of the ball. Jacoby Brissett operated the offense better than Kyler Murray. Hence why you benched Kyler for the rest of the year under an injury reserve thing. Like I think Arizona's cleaning full house. I think they're getting rid of the coach. I don't think you're going to see Kyler Murray anymore. I'm interested to see where they go from here because in that division, good luck. Like you know what I mean? And it's not
The
even
next
that.
person's got their work cut out for them.
It's and then it's the NFC too. Like not only you're trying to fight to win your division, but you're also trying to fight for a wild card. And you saw the NFC North, all the teams finished with a winning record, right? And you're in the NFC West, it's tough. Plus, ever since Gannon did that whole incident with I think it was DeMarcado, and just like slammed it, like got into his chest and everything, you can't come back from that. You can't come. Moving ahead, Pete Carroll fired after 1 year in Vegas. Vegas is totally lost. They have no idea what they're doing.
I have no
It's
idea
just
what they want.
it's incompetency after incompetency with that franchise. It's a blind leading the blind. I think one of the more surprising, Dable's been out, right? Dable's been fired. He's been out for a while. The Tennessee coach has been out for a while. Tennessee, Cam Ward was a good quarterback this year. I don't care what people say. If you watch the Tennessee game, you know how awful of a team that is, and the fact that he looked even remotely good is impressive. I think teams to keep an eye out for by the time this airs, things can completely change. But apparently, the Bengals are keeping the Falcons. Fired Raheem Morris and the GM. Raheem Morris, shame on you, buddy. Shame on you. Because you did what I told Drew the Spinnaker Swiss Army knife this was that watching the Falcons makes me mad. And I'm not even a Falcons fan. So I can't
Yeah,
even
man.
imagine what he felt every week. Because you watch him one week, DJ, and you're like, this team, this if they can just play like this for a couple weeks, they are a really good football team.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go to another week, and guess what? They don't use Bijan. They don't throw the ball to London, and then the defense is terrible. But then they play the Rams on Monday Night Football, and their Bijan has 175 total yards. They just unlocked the Bijan. Kyle Pitts had a monster game. It was too little, too late for Raheem Morris, and his inefficiency to manage.
He had plenty for a long time. He just didn't do jack shit with it.
No, that's what I'm saying. He did too little, too late with it at the end. Like he started to get everything going, but brother, where was this all season? And then you get the GM, who it's his fault that they're even in this freaking pickle with Penix and Cousins. Penix was an okay quarterback. He's out for the year. You bring in Cousins, and Cousins kind of runs the offense better than Penix. The numbers kind of prove that. And then now the GM's gone. If you're Atlanta, you're bringing a new GM who still has a Kirk Cousins contract on the books, a Michael Penix rookie contract, and guess what? If neither of them are the guy, you have to repeat the process in 2 years.
Well, I think there's worse, reality. I think there's worse situations to go into, like
It's a
Kirk
listen,
Cousins,
Atlanta.
Michael Penix. If you lose Michael Penix, whatever. Like pick up another quarterback in a stacked draft class next year, right? And you got Kirk Cousins for one more year after that. The idea of sitting behind a veteran is the best scenario for any quarterback coming in, anyways. And they obviously felt that Penix was better than Cousins, which is why they played Penix over the $40 million a year quarterback in Cousins. And either he got injured or he wasn't running the offense as well, or maybe a little bit of both. Maybe he was playing while injured, or maybe, like you said, the offense is just so turn of the page every week that how is it even possible for a quarterback to feel comfortable in the scenario or anybody in the team to feel comfortable? So head coaching, firing, I understand. Atlanta's had too many good people or good enough people for a long time to not do anything with it. But I think the GM firing, yeah, I'm a little questionable on that. Like I get
No,
how it's an issue, but their draft picks have been really good.
they
Like
have been.
really good.
I think, but here's the thing though. I think when you look at Atlanta, and the Raheem Morris move is a good move. I think you could have maybe given the GM 1 more year or 2 years to figure it out because, like you mentioned, they've drafted really well. James Pierce was a good pass rusher for them this past year. I think he actually was like really efficient as a pass rusher this past year. The offense again started to click. They drafted London, right? They drafted Bijan, right? You had
Did they
all these
extend
pieces.
Pitts? Did they extend Kyle Pitts
I think
fingers?
so. Like James Pierce finished with 10.5 sacks on the year, and he was 13th in the NFL in sacks as a rookie. He led all. I think he led all rookies. It looks like.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't fully grasp the amount of control that a GM has over day-to-day operations, but I know that they have a lot of control over who they pick up in the draft. And
The
he's
GM,
just,
GM's the guy who makes the final call on like 90% of the decisions. Anything personnel related, it has to get stamped by the GM.
well, I think it was a pretty poor idea to fire him then.
I don't know. I think when you look at it and the pickle that they're in and they go
Golly, send him to Cleveland. Kick what's his name out.
Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry's done a good job drafting too.
I know, but
Carson Schweschinger,
good
defensive
head
rookie of
coach.
the year.
Please bring him to Cleveland. Bring him to Cleveland, please.
Well, I think the biggest news that I've kind of realized is that Zach Taylor not getting fired out of Cincinnati, bonkers, bonkers move. And then Mike McDaniel staying the coach of Miami, I think is the right move. Yeah, bro lost his light over here. I think it's a tough shot by Houston. But again, I think you look at it, Daniels and Zach Taylor having jobs is a bit surprising, but I'm not against it either. I think Zach Taylor gets dealt a terrible hand every season from a terrible GM and owner, specifically owner, but not much more you can do outside of that.
I mean, I wonder how much the offense has to play a role in it,
Yeah.
year in and year out.
Well, DJ, what a show. Nearly 2 hours. We're so back. So back. So back. He has been the delightful DJ McCatherine, and I have been your co-host, Jacob Pearl. We have been the Deal with D and J. Like, comment, share, subscribe on all platforms. Catch you on the next one.